Hello everyone and welcome back to the Seasonal Storm. My name is Jess and we are continuing our back to school series. This one is my review on the summer brain quest that we did between 3rd and 4th grade for the little miss in our household. She just finished it today, and before I get into the rest of my back to school and end of summer rewards for doing this book, I just want to do a quick review on this. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. While research may show that students can lose up to 3 months worth of knowledge from the previous grade during an extended break from school, doing summer learning or summer work like this is completely optional, and you as the parent or guardian need to choose what's best for your household and the least stressful for your child. So I have traditionally done like a multiplication or a division or an addition or subtraction or one of those workbooks where every single page is like multiplication by ones, multiplication by twos, multiplication by threes. And even though continuing our multiplication work or addition work or whatever the theme of the year has been successful with her in the past, I do feel like it wasn't challenging enough and wasn't stimulating enough and still left some gaps when it comes to starting over the next school year. I don't feel like she had as many gaps as some other kids have experienced, or from what I've heard from teachers. So this year I want to do something different, and I know that coming out of distance learning, two of the things a lot of kids were seriously lacking were science and social studies. Now during her distance learning here, we really focused hard, in addition to her school-oriented curriculum, on supplementing with extra science and social studies readers, specifically for holidays, seasons, weather events, whatever. And those were things that we really did focus on. But this book absolutely delivered when it came to a well-rounded reading, writing, math, science, and social studies curriculum for the summertime. So the book plays kind of like a game, and I'm going to pull out some of the pieces before I get into the actual curriculum of it. So it plays like a game, so you get a map, and throughout the quest you get stickers, and you put a sticker for every achievement you've had, and you earn all your different stickers and all your little adventures. And I love how the themes of each section are related to social studies and science themes. So we'll get into that a bit in a second too. And they also have all these little flashcards that are just like tear out or like cut out ones. And they have a variety on each one of different levels of reading or writing, math, science, and social studies. So for this example, I'm just going to read the top card. The math question was, Hermes traveled 627 miles by sea and 212 miles by land. How many miles did he travel in total? So it's an addition problem. It's good review addition, but it's 3-digit addition, which is great for the bridge between 3rd and 4th grade. And I also love that the theme is from a Greek myth. So again, bringing a little bit of that humanities or social studies. The writing one, which of these is a preposition, in or outdoors? Again, asking them to recall their writing vocabulary, but also broadening their speaking vocabulary from simple short sentences to more complex sentences with compound phrases and things like that. For science, what part of an elephant uses the same sense as the human nose? Again, kind of asking them to remember what are my 5 senses or 7 senses, depending on what science curriculum your school district teaches, but also, relating the mammalian features from a person back to different animals and kind of expanding the way we think about things. And then the last question on this particular card, what document is the foundation of all laws in the United States? Again, kind of bringing back, and these are reviewed from different sections of the book, but bringing back that social studies a little bit to prepare them for going into 4th grade, where social studies in 4th grade, at least for the Western states, focuses a lot on individual state histories, but also that does tie back to basic U.S. history. There's not a ton of world history in 4th grade. It's more of a 6th grade thing here. So a good foundation to get her jazzed up and ready for next year. So we have our map, we have our flashcards. Now what I loved about this book is how each section seemingly had a theme. For example, I'm going to pull up section 5B. And 5B, it starts out talking about kinetic energy and then time. And in the time section, it's talking about Arctic time. And so we are obviously reading our clocks. Again, that's a recall skill from 3rd and 2nd, I think 1st grade a little bit as well. It talks about different word problems that have to do with time. So thinking of time in other ways than just the clock, which is kind of a building level activity. It talks about some poetry. So again, taking your reading and writing up a notch. And then I loved this one. This is from an outside quest, but this map is of the United States, and it's divided by, again, just like in the beginning, how I was talking about Arctic time and the Inuit. This talks about all of your different Native American tribes. And we went ahead and circled all the places that we've been just to kind of give an added relatability to it. And it also talks about the government system of the Native American tribes, which then feeds into later in the next section somewhere, talking about the foundations of government in the states, which I think is really cool how it all kind of ties together. Now, I will say one of the things I really love and appreciate about this book is that even when you're not in a reading or writing section, it still relates back to the Common Core principles of using a lot of reading, writing skills in your math and science, as well as using a lot of requirements for sentence structure, type of sentence, complex sentence, paragraph writing when you're dealing with science, math, and social studies as well. So it's kind of tying in all the skill sets they've been learning all into one. We did on average 3 activities a day. So normally a writing, a math, and either a science or a social study. And all in all, I will go and count really quick, but I'll tell you how many days it took her to complete this. I will remind everyone, we only did this 4 days a week on her time here. And she's here pretty much every other week. So keep that in mind. This was not something we do every single day. It's not something we do on the weekends. We don't do it on Fridays. And this week she did finish early. And we kind of did ramp up this last week just to get it out of the way. So her last 2.5 weeks of summer break, we've done review for the summer. We're ready to be refreshed and go into school with a new mindset. I do believe after having her go through all these activities, she is absolutely ready for 4th grade at this point. And she retained a ton of information from 3rd grade. And what I love about this, instead of honing in on one thing all summer, it broadened all of the options of things for her to think about, but also she would be doing something like, oh, I remember how to do this. I learned this with so-and-so teacher last year. Oh, I did this during distance learning. So her brain is making the connections back and forth between what she's working on now and the point in time in which she learned it in the past. And then for things that are new skills, like comparing and contrasting historical figures, we had to work together a little bit on those sections in order for her to be better prepared to going into doing traditional social studies now starting in 4th grade. So it gave her that little leg up and a little push to be like, okay, when I see this for the first time in 4th grade, I don't need to panic. I've seen this before. We will continue to learn these things as they come. So let me see how many days it took her total to do this, and I'll be right back. So all in all, she started this book the last week of May, and she worked 4 days a week, every other week until here the first week in August. So it took her 21 days of learning, which is essentially if she worked every single day, 3 weeks. But the cool thing about this book is there were very few days where she ever did more than 20 minutes of work. Those are normally on days where she had to do a lot of reading. And what's cool about this as well is this is something where we could read it together, work together, again, rebuilding the teamwork side aspect of it. But she never took more than about 40 minutes. Today was her last day, probably took the longest just because it was so much reading in the end, and she took about 40 minutes. When you think about that amount of time, you know, you finish breakfast, you do 20 minutes of this, and then we go and have the rest of the day to do something else, or we put the pause on video games, we do 30 minutes of this, and then we go back to doing something else. This really isn't a big hiccup throughout the day, and at the end of the day, she knew that this does benefit her not only in school ways, but she does get rewarded at the end of summer for finishing this book. So overall, I highly recommend this. We will likely be doing this again between 4 and 5 next summer. I'm really eager to review the next level up. Now, I know they also have workbooks that go along with each grade for people who feel like their kid needs a little bit of extra work or extra practice. We personally don't do stuff like that. We just let homework be its thing, and then we do reading during the school year and flashcards. But if that's something that interests you, or if you're a homeschooler and you need some more traditional worksheets, I recommend this series of books. I ordered this one on Amazon, but you can get these pretty much at any local bookstore, at Walmart, Target, anything like that. And yeah, that's my review, I guess. So the summer is over and we are officially done with Summer Brain Quest. If this video was informative to you in any way, please give it a like, a subscribe, or leave me a comment down below, and I'm going to be linking Brain Quest.